Welcome back, everyone. So don't be mad, but I recently released a video going over a Karasu deck build on the fire symbol, saying that he could very well be one of the best answers for these transforming characters like Reiner and Bertolt and Emir, these people who wanted to get to like 9 foundations. And I think I might have jumped the gun, because I forgot mainly about Karasu having the evil symbol. And one of the main reasons I wanted to build him on fire was because he could use Barrier Shield, which reduces your speed to 0, rival's attack speed to 0, and gives you Breaker 2, which is an amazing ability. Because check hacking is very powerful, especially when you're keeping their foundations low. But if you look up here, you'll see that there might be a symbol that does check hacking a little bit better than fire. So I took a stab at Karasu on an evil symbol, and I think this might be the better way to go. Let's get into it. As you know, Karasu, he's a 7 hand size, 20 health character with Death, Evil, and Fire. He is a Team Toguro member. Team Toguro, that'll be important in a minute. As a static, after you deal damage with an attack, any player that has 6 or more foundations destroys a foundation. So you want to build to more than 6 so that you can destroy down to 5 over the course of your turn, and then maybe build a few more after that as you go. And this will also keep your rival hovering around 5 so that they can't build, and transform. And then Enhance, this attack is plus X damage. X equals the number of foundations destroyed this turn, so both yours and your rivals. This can get up to a big damage number. Onto the attacks, we have 4 Ravages of War. This is the bread and butter of the deck. It's an 8 high 8. It's an 8 difficulty, which sucks, especially if we're running low on foundations, but it's worth it. It's a 2 high block, it's a 4 check, so that's really helpful. But as a blitz, your rival discards a card, so it's harder to block. They sacrifice a foundation, so it starts your damage build on Karasu, and it's harder to block. And they spend a momentum, so it gets rid of momentum that they might have been storing for vertical maneuvering equipment. And as a response, after you block with this card, if you have 6 or fewer foundations, your rival has to discard a card and you draw a card. So offensively and defensively, this is probably the best card in the deck. It's really, really strong either way, as long as you can draw it. I have checked a lot of these, and I've only drawn 1 or 2 in all of my practice matches, but that's been with the fire build. So, moving on, we have Besiege. This is a card that wears the damage boost from Karasu and other attacks or other damage boosts really, really well. Because as a blitz, this attack can only be blocked by cards that have a printed block modifier of 3 or greater. And if you throw it late in a string and your rival has only like 5 foundations and some of them might be committed, maybe this just doesn't get blocked. So that's always a really strong ability there. It's got some deadlock. If you're playing your cards right, they're never getting into deadlock. We have his own Malefic Grenade. This has a very solid 0 low block, which is nice. It's a 4 mid 5, and as an enhance, you can spend a momentum. This attack gets 3 speed, so it becomes a 7 mid 5, and if it deals damage, your rival destroys a foundation. So if they're at 6 foundations, they destroy 2 foundations if this hits. They go down to 5, and then they have to destroy 1 for Malefic Grenade as well. So, really powerful ability. Next up, we have 60% power. This is a 3 mid 5. It's got powerful 3. It says enhance if your rival has 5 or more foundations, which you cannot destroy them to lower than 5. Their check to block this attack gets -3. So more check hacking and using that as an ability to make sure that you are just getting that damage through, especially when you're forcing them with lower and lower foundations. Really strong. 80% power. It's got Breaker 1, which we love Breaker because it gives our rival's next check to play a card -1 after we block with it. And when we're reducing their foundation base, so they go into their turn with maybe 5 foundations instead of 7 or 8, Breaker can be debilitating. So as an enhance, we can destroy a rival foundation and then build the top 2 cards of their deck face down committed. So yes, we do give them 2 more foundations, but we selectively destroy 1 foundation. So we get Karasu's damage bonus online. We destroy their best defensive piece and give them 2 committed foundations. If that puts them above 5, then if something deals damage, we get to blow one up again with Karasu, so we get to debuild them even more. They'll probably choose the committed face downs, but you're still getting more face down destruction. You're getting more cards destroyed. Karasu gets more of a damage boost, and you can keep going. And if you destroy the 1 to give your rival 2 more, and that puts them to 7 or more foundations, you can give this attack 2 speed and 2 damage, making it a 6 mid 7, which, if they only have 7 foundations and 2 of those are already committed, that could be pretty rough to try to block with. Next, we have Berserker Bite. This is sneakily one of my favorite defensive cards. It's a 2-high 3, it's a throw, which means it'll always hit with Karasu, so you will always destroy a foundation if your rival's at 6 or more, or you're at 6 or more. But as a response, we get to flip a foundation. After we play this card, all cards get +1 difficulty for the turn, and if it's our turn, this card does not count towards progressive difficulty. But this works on block. So we can block with this card. It is a +3 mid, but we are running barrier shields. So we block with this, flip a foundation. All of our rivals' cards get +1 difficulty, including their foundations, for the rest of the turn. So it makes every card they play that turn harder to play, and then when you combine that with Breaker, you can just shut their turn down quick and easy. And last but not least, Vile Seizing. It's a great +1 high block, it's got Breaker, and we can force our rival to make a check of 7, which they will likely fail because they don't want to waste their commit on this, so we can draw cards and get more damage. On to assets. We have Vertical Maneuvering Equipment. Probably could get bumped to 2, mainly just for the speed, hate, and zone change. You don't really need plus speed unless you really need to make sure your attack hits. It's mainly for the -3 speed and make sure you can perfect block something. And then Twisty Surroundings. It's got Breaker 2, which is amazing. As an enhance, we can spend a momentum to change the zone of this attack to any other zone. Playable while committed, playable by either player. So it's kind of like Vertical Maneuvering Equipment, just without the speed hate. So if we didn't see that and we had Twisty, we can still kind of use the defense there. But as a response, we can commit it. After our rival makes a check to play an attack, that check gets -2. Failing the check will not end the combat phase, but if you can turn this sideways to, say, send that attack to your discard pile, that's a pretty good defense exchange in my opinion. Excuse me. On to actions, we have Chomp. It's got Breaker 2. Again, we love Breaker when we're keeping our rival low on foundations. And as a form, we can destroy a rival foundation with a difficulty of 2 or less. And then after this card leaves the card pool, we remove it if we've used that form. So if we're just doing a build turn, we can Chomp, blow up one of their best foundations selectively, and then build our foundations out. Cool. Barrier Shield, one of the best defensive cards in the game right now. It is the reason I'm hovering around the Evil, Fire, and Void symbols, personally, for what I want to build, because when you've got Rodan running around, or Smiling Titan, you need to make sure you can block some of these really high speed attacks. So Barrier Shield, obviously, is amazing. Drop their speed to 0, your next card gets Breaker 2. Really good way to shut down a kill turn. And with all the Breaker, we have Masterminding. This is a foundation that cannot, or it's an action. It cannot be discarded from your momentum to pay a cost. That doesn't matter. As a response, after our rival fails a check, we can play this card as a response to add this card to our momentum face up. But only 1 copy can be played per turn. We're only playing 1 copy. But as an enhance, in our momentum once per turn, we can give our rival's next check -1. Failure of the check will not end the combat phase. But in addition to Twisty Surroundings, in addition to all of our Breaker, well, you wouldn't want to give the -1 right before a Breaker, because Breaker can end the combat phase. But all of the check hacking, all of the Breaker, we're trying to really hold our rival down at 5 foundations and say, you cannot kill me, ever. Because I'm going to Breaker you, I'm going to hack your checks, I'm going to make it so that if I touch you on my turn, you're never going to touch me on yours. On to foundations. We have Eaten by the Bearded Titan. This is great speed hate. It's tenacious, so playable while committed. We just sacrifice it for -3 speed. Really great. It works to eat stun, and it's just great. Final words. As a form, we sacrifice this card to selectively destroy a rival foundation. Our combat phase ends. So you can chomp, and then you can build a few foundations, and then final words. You've selectively destroyed 2 of your rival's best foundations, and if you were just going to do a build turn, that's a perfect way to do it. Excuse me. Tripping over my own tongue. Next up, we have Smiling Death. We remove it as a response. After it is destroyed, we get to selectively flip a rival foundation. So if we destroy it thanks to Karasu, because our attack dealt damage, we can blow this up, flip our rival's best piece. Simple. Without a vision, as a form, we can commit it and discard a card to draw 1 card, and our rival's next check this turn gets -2. It's usually a check to block, unless it's with Vile Seizing. But as a form, our rival's next check gets -2. That's going to pretty much guarantee something like Ravages of War, or maybe like Besiege, or a boosted Malefic Grenade is going to hit. And then if we want to, we can just destroy our committed without a vision with Karasu if we have 6 or greater foundations. Rifle Arms, great speed hate or boost, +2 or -2, or if it's the only attack in its owner's card pool, +3 or -3. Incubating for more speed hate and more low blocks. Condescending Explanation. As our first enhance, we can remove it, spend a momentum to flip this attack. It just flips the attack in the rival's card pool, basically aborts it, and it has to stick around to deal with progressive difficulty. Win-win. Hi, Sam. We have Confronting the MLA. We remove it after it's destroyed. Our rival spends a momentum, so it's a bit of momentum hate as well. Fighting for Control. Rival's turn. We flip it after they play a check to play a non-foundation card, so an action, a foundation, or an action, an attack, or an asset, or a backup if they're Hanji. Failing, that check gets -2. Failing the check will not end the combat phase, so you can Twisty on their first attack, then you can Fighting for Control on their second attack. So just force them to tap down all of their foundations or get rid of their attacks altogether. Immortal Shapeshifter, we can check 5s after our foundations are destroyed to gain more health. We are a squishy 20 health character, a normal size 7-hander. So we can gain health as we're destroying our own foundations, and we can also destroy a foundation to give our attack +1 damage. Demon Energy Manipulation. If this foundation is destroyed, our next attack gets -1 difficulty. So this helps continue our strings if we are playing at less lower foundations. And we can commit it if we have 6 or fewer foundations in our stage. This attack gets 3 damage. So, awesome. Unsettling Aura, we can commit it for -3 speed if we're at 6 or fewer foundations, or -2 speed normally. Warped Pleasure, once per turn during our turn, any player with 6 or more foundations destroys a foundation. So if they are starting to outbuild you and get ahead of you, like maybe instead of trying to attack, they just build out 4 more foundations, Warped Pleasure gets Karasu online and starts limiting their foundation use already. And then if they're at 10 or less health, our attack gets 1 speed, 1 damage. So that's pretty cool. Togoro's Dominance. This is another great reason to play this character on Evil. This is a unique foundation, but as a response, we can destroy it. After our rival plays an ability on an asset or foundation, we get to destroy it. We could blow up vertical maneuvering equipment. We could blow up any of their defensive foundations, like incubating. That's going to hurt our speed or any of that. We can get rid of their immortal shapeshifters if they're trying to check 5s after we destroy their foundations to get more health. So, more foundation destruction, we just get that piece off the board. Or, as a Team Toguro member, we can flip it to force our rival to spend a momentum. It's mainly here for the destruction. Defending Pageant Queen, we remove it, reduce this attack speed to 1. It's a pseudo-barrier shield, so that's always good. Lust for Battle is fun. We remove it after this card enters our discard pile during the combat phase. Our rival's next check gets -1. So if we check it during either player's turn, like if we're checking to play a block, or if we check it to play an attack, or if we destroy it with Karasu, or if we had a way to discard it or something, we can just make our rival's next check get -1. Pretty simple. And then quick to act, if we're down below half health, all of our attacks are getting free 1 speed, which we will need if we are at less than half health because we really want to ramp it up and make sure our rival can't finish us off. So that is my build for Evil Karasu, except instead of Fire Karasu. I think it's more dangerous. I think it is much deadlier with all of the check hacking, all of the breaker. Fire could ramp up more damage, but I think as long as you're holding your rival at 5 foundations, you can kind of win that war of attrition. Because you'll obviously, build a few more, so you'll have 6, 7, 8 on your rival's turn, and then you can defend, and then on your turn you can just slowly blow those up so that you can build back up to 7 or 8 on your turn. And if you're holding your rival down at 5 foundations, they're not going to be able to kill you through all the breaker and all the check hacking. Which I guess breaker is check hacking. I don't know why I'm saying that is 2 different things. But with all of the defense that you're allowed to play, with barrier shield, with defending pageant queen, all of the check hacking stuff, you could really hold them off at 5 foundations, and then on your turn you have the foundation, more foundations. If you hit, you can blow up any extra foundations they have and just tell them they're not allowed to move past this line in the sand. So yeah, which do you guys prefer? Do you prefer the fire build, or do you prefer the evil build, or do you not want to use barrier shield or defending pageant queen and just go for a death build? I think with attunement, being able to use all of this guy's symbols at once is pretty strong. But what do you guys think? Do you have any fun tricks for Karasu? If so, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And if you want to help support the channel even further, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.